Hi guys, welcome back to the channel here on Jared Gunston TV. In today's video, we're going to be having a look at a couple of dynamic microphones. Nice smooth and cool and collected start there. All right, so in today's video I've got a couple lined up. My personal favorite, the Rode M1. It's got a really nice warm mid-range to it, nice and clear. Bottom end is fine. It's a good mic. I've been using that for a few years now. I was then on the lookout for a backup microphone and something that was cheap but got the job done. You're probably well familiar with these. Q7x from Samson. What I picked up straight away when I plugged into this after using this for so long was that this microphone, the Samson, definitely had like a sort of dB boost. I mean, obviously every microphone is going to have its own output level, but it was definitely louder. There was a lot more clarity on the top, it being I think it's a super cardioid, whereas the M1 is just a normal cardioid. I quite enjoyed being able to pull away, hit some high notes and all that sort of thing, and the level sort of wasn't fluctuating too much. I picked up after my first gig, I was getting a little bit of distortion, just a hint in the high end. There was a bit of distortion, and I thought, nah, it won't bother me. And then the comment was made that the mic sounds like maybe it's distorting a little bit. So then I thought, okay, cool, I'm going to go back to my Rode. And then we have one of these to compare, the Mackie EM-89D. I've done one show with this. I thought it looked kind of like a Sennheiser E835, but that was worrying to me because I'm not a fan of Sennheiser. I mean, for girls it works fine, but even sometimes for girls it can make their vocals a bit shrilly. The Rode M1 is a dynamic microphone, cardioid, 75 to 18 kilohertz, and has an impedance of 320 ohms. The Samson Q7 is a super cardioid, 50 to 16 kilohertz frequency response, impedance of 200, and the Mackie EM-89D is a cardioid mic, 50 to 16 kilohertz, and has an impedance of 600 ohms. And what we're going to do now is we're going to compare this with which is my Fifine USB microphone, which I use for all my dialogue sitting here at the desk as a sort of neutral example. And then what I'm going to do is copy all the effects that I put onto this and put them onto all three mics. And then I'm going to turn all the effects off, turn them back on, so you can make up your mind to which mic you think sounds good for you. So this is the dialogue test. You are now hearing the Fifine with no filters on. They've all been turned off. You're now hearing the sound of the Rode M1 dynamic mic. You're now hearing the sound of the Fifine mic. Fifine dynamic M1. This was probably going to be a little bit softer. I may have to boost this in post just by a few dB. Check 1 2 1 2. Taking a long walk down the beach for the dog to enjoy the day. Taking a walk down the beach for the dog to enjoy the day. All right, so what we are going to do now is we are going to reapply these settings. Just like that, you can now hear the difference that these make on the microphone. And now I'm going to turn these on for the M1 microphone as well. You're now hearing the sound of the Rode M1 microphone with all audio filters on. This should give it a nice compressed sound with good bottom end and a much better monitoring level, broadcast type level sound and tone. All right, and that's that one. So you just heard this mic over here. So now we're going to do exactly the same thing. And we are going to move over to the Samson. I will not be adjusting the gain. Let's go ahead and turn these filters off. And we're going to do the same now for the Fi-Fine. This is the sound of the Fi-Fine microphone with all audio processing turned off. This is the sound of the Samson Q7x with all audio processing turned off. Back to the Fi-Fine again with all audio processing turned off. And back to the Q7s from Samson with all audio filtering turned off. Now, if we return to the Fi-Fine and we put the filters back on again, this is the Fi-Fine with all audio filters turned back on. This is the Fi-Fine with all audio filters turned back on. This is the Samson Q7s with all audio filtering turned back on. Here is the sound, and the mic is probably about that far from my mouth. And I can see that the signal is quite hot, which is why I've moved back slightly, because I do not want to adjust the gain for this comparison. This is the Fi-Fine with filtering turned back on. So perhaps you've already heard a difference between those two microphones. We're now going to move on to the Mackie EM-89D. I assume D stands for dynamic. In my case, perhaps it stands for dumbass. All right, so we are back on the Fi-Fine. We are going to turn filtering off. This is the Fi-Fine with all audio filtering turned off. I'm currently now turning off the filtering for the Mackie. This is the Fi-Fine mic with all audio filtering turned off. This is the Mackie with all audio filtering turned off. This is the Mackie with all audio filtering turned off. This is the Fi-Fine with all audio filtering turned off. This is now the Fi-Fine with all audio filtering turned back on. And here is the Mackie EM-89D with all audio filtering turned back on. This is it with back on. Back to the Fi-Fine USB mic. Mackie EM-89D. Takes me a little while to remember these model names. With all filtering turned back on, I can see I'm getting a little bit of peaking there as well. I did also notice that this mic does have a bit of louder signal to the road. So now we're going to do a comparison between all three with filtering turned back on. This is the Fi-Fine with all audio filtering turned on. This is the Rode M1 with all audio filtering turned on. And we are back now to the Fi-Fine with all audio filtering turned back on. And now we are on the Samson Q7s with all filtering turned back on. And what do you know? The USB Fi-Fine with all audio filtering turned back on. And lastly, back to the Mackie EM-89D. Got it without even having to look, with all audio filtering turned back on. So there you go. That's these three microphones. I hope that the wireless was okay. It wasn't cutting out or anything, because that does sometimes happen. I think all these microphones have a place and a purpose. I think this is a very nice sounding microphone, the Rode M1. If you're looking for that sort of a tone, that's not too brittle, not too harsh, it definitely gets the job done. The Samson Q7 I think is a great MC mic, backup mic to just throw in the bag. Or if you're playing through a PA where you feel like you may be getting too much bottom end, throw this one in because it'll give you some top end. And this one, after doing one show with it, I'm now more drawn to this one. I'll report back and let you know if my opinions change. But right now, if I had to throw these in order of preference, I would say like that. My new favorite, my classic that I've always enjoyed, and my backup slash if I need something or an MC mic, I would rather give an MC this before I give an MC this. That's it. I hope that was informative or educational or anything. This is not a sponsored video. This was sent to me though to check out and do a demo. These two I've bought myself. This might stick around and not leave because I like it. Anyway guys, you have a good day further and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.